All right, welcome back to the channel. Shawn Porter seems to be putting on more of a press for the Terence Crawford fight, and he also shares some just stone cold facts about himself in the welterweight division. No lies out of Shawn Porter on this one. Let's talk about what Shawn Porter had to say about Terence Crawford and the rest of these welterweights in this video. All right, welcome back. Thank you guys again for coming to chop it up about boxing with me. We are going to talk about Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter. If you are familiar with this channel, this is what you call a pet project for me, because other than Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford at welterweight, I don't think there's a fight that I want at that I want to see at welterweight more than Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter. And the reason is because it would accomplish so many things for the welterweight division if this could happen, that it is well worth that fight taking place. Now, just to give a little bit of background, because there's some people that might not be familiar with all of the names and the circumstances. So I'm just going to give a brief background on it, and then again comment on what Shawn Porter is saying now. So Shawn Porter is now a contender in the welterweight division, but he is the former WBC welterweight champion of the world. He is the former IBF world champion. He has wins over some of the best welterweights in the world in Yordenis Ugas, Danny Garcia, Kell Brook. He is somebody that even in his, not Kell Brook, because he lost to Kell Brook, but he has wins, but even in his losses, right? Even in his losses, can't remember who he won for the IBF belt. I don't know. Maybe that was Alexander. Might have been Devin Alexander he beat to get his original belt. But Devin Alexander, another really good fighter at the time that Shawn Porter beat when he ran into him. But the fights that he lost against Kell Brook, against Keith Thurman, and against Errol Spence Jr., all of those fights were highly competitive fights where through stretches in that fights, he gave as good as he got. They were close fights. They were fights that I would love to see again. All of those fights are rematch worthy fights. He is a legitimate top 147 pounder that proved no matter what style you have, Shawn Porter is in there and he can give you that business, whether you're an outboxer like Keith Thurman, or whether or not you are somebody that is going to stay in the pocket and be really aggressive with you like Errol Spence, or somebody that is somebody that times you and is a very good counterpuncher like Danny Garcia, or a mixture of them all like Kell Brook. Shawn Porter has the ability to do his thing against any of those guys. So that's why that's why I believe, that is the guy that Terence Crawford should step in the ring with if he cannot immediately get a fight with the champions in that weight division. The champions in that weight division being Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence Jr. Both of those fights are a ways off. Shawn Porter does not have anything on the table, so make the fight. But that would seem like way too much right for the boxing world, because when that topic was broached, and it was broached many times by a lot of different people, the response to from Shawn Porter originally and from Terence Crawford originally was that, hey, we're friends. We're only going to make this fight, when we decide it's time, when we want to make the fight, right? All of that type of stuff was going on, where neither one of the guys are really trying to push for the fight. Shawn Porter saying, look, the fight that I want my rematch with Errol Spence Jr. I think I won that fight. Terence Crawford is saying, I want to fight with Errol Spence Jr., or I want to fight with Manny Pacquiao. I'm not fighting anybody but champions. All of that stuff is going around, man. And so it's looking like that fight, can't happen, for no good reason. Can't happen, because both of these guys are acting as if they're friends, and it's not that big of a press for these guys to fight each other. And my stance on that has been, look, man, I'm a boxing fan, right? And not every fight is a championship fight, right? You do not just, that's a problem in boxing, is that a fight between two excellent fighters don't get full appreciation unless one of these sanctioning bodies charge them money to show a belt on their shoulder before they walk in the ring. And some fights are, the belt, the fighters make the fight, not the belts don't make the fight, the fighters make the fight. And when you have a guy like Terence Crawford, who, by the way, does have a belt, but, in the words of Keith Thurman, that's the WB no. He has the WB no belt. Probably the least respected of all the championship belts is the WBO, but still there's one there. But Terence Crawford would say, I want to fight somebody that has a belt. I only belts. That's just whatever. But when Shawn Porter says, look, now that was Shawn Porter's tune before this whole Corona thing happened. Now Shawn Porter is talking about it and saying that he still plans to meet with Terence Crawford, which, by the way, I have to correct something because I missed the last time I did a video about this subject. I misread the quote. Or if put it this way, I don't think I misread the quote. I think I read it correctly, but I think maybe the quote that I read was off from what he actually said in the interview. So he was saying that he was still setting up the meeting with Terence Crawford. So they still want to set the meeting up with Terence Crawford to see about making the fight. Look, now he's saying, though, that that's a fight that he really wants. He seems like he's being a little more direct about it. But then he starts talking about how the fact that none of these other guys want to fight him, right? And he's now like the new boogeyman. I think that's Blue Blood might have used that in one of the videos that he did. So I'll use the way that Blue Blood referred to it. He's the boogeyman of 147 pounds, right? That's what he feels like he is. And that's why these guys don't want to fight him, because they know, and this is the truth that Shawn Porter is speaking, shout out to Ohio, because this is the truth. He's the boogeyman in the division, because people know, win or lose, if they get in the ring with Shawn Porter, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get somebody that I think what Shawn Porter said was, if you don't wind up in the hospital, you're not going to go to the club. You're going to be in bed icing and trying to heal up from this ass whooping that I'm going to put on you for this fight, win or lose. And that's the truth. That is the truth. In which that is exactly why the fight with Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter is so important, because that is what that's what Terence Crawford needs. Now, right now, Terence Crawford is saying that he wants Manny Pacquiao, he wants Errol Spence, and that Kell Brook is an option, right? Now, Kell Brook is also kind of fits that same mold that Shawn Porter does, but without any of the recent feats of excellence that Shawn Porter has shown. Now, and when I'm telling you, that's Shawn Porter coming off of a loss against Errol Spence Jr. Now, while I believe that Errol Spence Jr. won that fight, and I agree, I think some of the cards were like 116. Was it 116? Was like 115, 113. 116, 112, 116, was it 116 to 112? Can't remember what the scorecards are, but there were 116s on this side. Two of them were 116s scored for Errol Spence Jr., and the other one was a 115 scored for Shawn Porter. If you look at the fight, every one of those rounds were good fights. Even though there are rounds that Errol Spence Jr., I think Errol Spence Jr. clearly won, Shawn Porter was giving Errol Spence Jr. the business even in those rounds. But it was just that Errol Spence is so active and he's throwing so many shots and Shawn Porter's throwing so many shots that there's an opportunity for both of those guys to land really good shots on each other during the rounds. But that was no easy that was no easy pushover fight for Errol Spence Jr. because you could see the side of Errol Spence Jr.'s head swole up at the end of that round. Also, I also knew this is something to be said about Shawn Porter. Now, I was speaking with somebody in Errol Spence Jr.'s camp, and what the guy told me was, he's like, watch, Errol Spence Jr. is going to beat Shawn. Oh no, they said Errol Spence Jr. is going to beat Terence Crawford worse than he beat worse than he beats Shawn Porter. And he said, well, because, I don't, it's like, yeah, we can't talk about the Shawn Porter because, the outcome of the fight hasn't happened yet. And their eyes kind of were like, but they acknowledge that's going to be a tough fight. But their camp actually said to me that they thought Shawn Porter was going to be a harder fight for Errol Spence than Terence Crawford was. And I think that is more than likely because of the style of him. But to hear Shawn Porter acknowledge that is the fight that he wants, that's the fight that he's one of the fights that he's pushing for, and recognizing the fact that he needs to make that fight. Shawn Porter needs to be pushing for that fight because none of these other guys are going to push for Shawn Porter. And a couple of them, the other champions, have perfectly good reasons not to fight Shawn Porter. Errol Spence Jr. just fought him. Manny Pacquiao's 42 years old and can do whatever he wants to. It can be 41, 42 years old and can do whatever he wants to do. He can fight Errol Spence Jr. for more money. He has the excuse not to fight him, right? But Terence Crawford does not. Because those two options are off the plate for him. The Manny Pacquiao and the Errol Spence Jr. fight are off the plate for him this year. So you might as well mix it up and make it happen. Anyway, I certainly hope that has happened, and I'm going to continue to push for it. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.